Welcome to Werks. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you do, please like, subscribe, and comment. Today's video is an update on my CNC router build for those that are following the build process. I do want to show the machine running a test of wood, and it ran pretty well with no broken router bits or other items. I'm still pretty far from finished, but would say I'm about 3/4 of the way to being finished. I still have the waste bed to build, finish the dust collection system, and add in hard stops and proc switches, as well as a few other minor details. I'm drilling some holes using a pecking motion and running it much slower than I would normally. The pecking motion just means that the bit enters the workpiece a certain distance, then it withdraws out of the workpiece. I'm being cautious in making the router return to a safe height to avoid any crashes. This is an interpolated hole, which means the bit is going in a spiral pattern to enlarge the hole bigger than the router bit installed. The next section shows a pocket being cut, and I'm having the bit withdraw to a safe distance to avoid any issues. It does throw a lot of chips and a little dust, so I ran my shop vac. You want chips and not dust when cutting, because that kind of tells you that you have the chip flow pretty close to what it should be. This is the first time I've run the CNC router, so I'm being extra cautious because you never know what will happen. I certainly don't want to drive the spindle off the table or through the table. I'm pretty excited about the router running, and this is the first CNC machine I've built. I will be focusing on finishing the router up in the next few months as time allows. Here's a view of the 90-degree welding brackets I made. I made these square brackets to ensure the table was welded as close to 90 degrees as each joint as I could get it. It took about 3 hours to build these, and the time was well spent to increase the accuracy of the router. I'm starting to weld the table up on sawhorses. Yes, sawhorses. As I welded, I used a laser level and a square to make sure that it was as level as I could get it. I used playing cards for shims where shimming was needed. When I finished and checked the table for level, it was about 0.1 off from corner to corner. I think I got really lucky and was really happy with the leveling of the machine frame. I did use an engine hoist to lift the frame. It was very heavy. I lifted the frame to install the casters to aid in moving onto a trailer and off the trailer and into and around my shop. Before moving the router table into my shop, I primed the frame and then painted it International Harvester Red. My friend Bob suggested the color and I went with it. I think the paint job turned out pretty well and only put down 1 coat of primer and 1 coat of the red. I did apply some wax on the frame after the paint cured to aid in the cleanup and wipe down as the machine creates dust and chips when running. Once I figured out where I wanted it, I lifted the table with the engine hoist and removed the casters and installed the leveling pads onto the legs. I want a solid foundation for this machine to aid in the accuracy of it, and leaving the casters on would have allowed the machine to move. Here are some parts I needed to make to attach the gantry to the frame. The spindle will ride on the gantry and the gantry will ride on the frame. I used a white paint marker to lay out the gantry pieces, then used my mill to drill the counterbores and the bandsaw to cut them. I also 3D printed a dust shroud for the machine, and these views show it installed onto the spindle. The shroud still needs the dust brushes installed on them. One of the first things I want to cut on the router are the motor mounts out of aluminum. The current motor mounts were 3D printed and are only meant to be temporary. I produced the G-code in Vectric for the motor mounts and test cut them in wood. I'll adjust the G-code settings when I go to cut the motor mounts in aluminum. I didn't want to try aluminum first because I've never ran a CNC router before, and I just didn't know what was going to happen when I pushed the start button. This is a view of the part being made at the beginning of the video, and there are a few issues with the backlash on the interpolated hole and the pockets that I need to correct. You can see they are not perfectly round or have a nice radius on them. I hope you enjoyed the video and got something from it.
Thank you for watching Werks, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like the video, please give a thumbs up, subscribe for future videos, and comment. Thanks again.